What is going on, guys? Welcome back. Commentary for you. Jovan put up a video. I figured I'd respond. He used a lot of my content, and it amazes me, honestly amazes me, that someone who claims, they call out all the hypocrites, can be such a hypocrite themselves. As a matter of fact, in the same exact video he chastises me for doing something, he does the exact same thing. And it just is irrational that a grown man would handle things this way. He shows my video and he says, do you see how I edited this? I cut this part out because I wanted to make it sound serious. Jovan, you edit everyone this way, right? Everyone reacts this way. No one plays a whole clip and then reacts to the whole clip, right? You are just as guilty as anyone else of stopping clips and then discussing it and then restarting the clip. But in this instance, you're saying, I didn't play the full video because it's stand-up comedy. Again, Jovan, you are in your Toyota Tercel filming this for Periscope, for Facebook Live, okay? It's not stand-up comedy, right? When you show yourself and you directly compare yourself to D.L. Hughley and you imply that you stole this joke, you stole this content, this is what is so irrational to people. You're showing a well-established comedian on a prime time television special, and then you're saying, well, me in my car, I'm doing the same thing he is, and I deserve the same leeway. That's not how life works. You can sit here today and you can say, well, I look back at these videos and I cringe that I was just practicing material, that in reality, because his screen name is, quote, Yo Mama, you shouldn't take anything he says serious. But that's the problem. You come online and you talk about everyone in this community, and not everyone takes your jokes as jokes. So don't ever come on here and talk about people being a hypocrite. Don't ever come on here and talk about people being a moron, because you sit here and you lie about people. And now you want to pull everything back and say, well, I just joke around. Nothing should be taken serious, because that's what your channel said for the longest time, that you do no research. And then you try to segue into, well, it's because you call reactors out that you were, quote, burnt at the stake. So which is it, right? Are you being burnt at the stake, held accountable for your words, or was everything just a joke and none of this makes sense to you because you're trying to play into every little segment of this? He plays this joke that he made about his neighbor having roaches and how it spread to their house, and how he told his mom that they didn't get roaches from the neighbor, they got roaches from being dirty. It was so dirty, the Orkin man came there each day. And he said, no one used this joke. Jovan, there's nothing funny about that joke. We don't technically know that's a joke, right? A joke would have been, if this happened with you and your wife, and then you end up finding out that you never had roaches, your wife was just bringing them home and planting them in the house because she wanted to have an affair with the Orkin man. Now you're sitting there and saying, well, I never had roaches, so now you know this was a joke. Again, anything that you say, you are now giving yourself the leeway of saying, well, I didn't mean that, I was just joking. Again, from a society standpoint, no one else gets to use that excuse, right? Everyone you sit here and chastise, they can't say, well, I didn't mean to have that happen. I was just joking. You literally sit here and say that you weren't singled out for talking about a moose being in a neighbor's refrigerator. So therefore, you feel all of this was unjust. But you know what, Jovan? The cat story was very detailed. It was very drawn out. It was not as exaggerated as, oh, I think my neighbor had a full moose in his refrigerator. So you can sit there and you say all of this was done intentionally to trigger this narrative about animals in the community. But as I've proven, you did the very same thing, right? You brought all this Mike Vick support that I supposedly have out. And now you want to just weasel out of everything as, again, it's just a joke. That you claim we went over hours and hours and hours of content and handpicked one joke about animals. And then you try to make this connection that, reactors just support each other. And all of this leads back to you being the perpetual victim. I understand, honestly, watching this, I understand how you and Chantal get along so well. I see why you and Amber get along so well, because they very much do the same thing. They love to sit there and say, oh, you don't understand. I'm not allowed to be responsible for my actions because this person did that. That person did this. Oh, if you're going to judge me for that, you need to judge them for this. You go on and you say everyone can do, quote, wild stuff and be cheered on. No one's out here doing wild stuff, Jovan. We're literally reacting. And then you sit there and you say that we were, quote, getting a person out of the way they don't like. You removed your own content. No one else did that. It's been proven. You can go back. There's screenshots of you removing your own content, pulling your own channel down. Yet now, again, you want to sit there. You want to be this victim. You want to pretend that all these things happened to you rather than you did them intentionally, right? You intentionally did that to your channel. And then, of course, he goes on to the boat trip I covered, Lake Havasu, that it's all a reach. He shows footage from other creators at the lake. Again, it really is this elementary school narrative. You know, little Bobby did this, so I can do that. Little Ricky did this, so I can do that. Jovan, you were screaming towards families and kids. Jovan, I don't care what anyone else did. And quite frankly, you shouldn't either. I can guarantee you no one was screaming about FFG and Kaya. No one was screaming Girl World into a crowd. You know, but rather than look at the situation and say, look, you know, I admitted in the video I'd been drinking. Had I not been drinking, I'd like to think I wouldn't have acted that way. You know, I certainly regret yelling obscenities towards families, towards children. Rather than do that, you just sit there and defer blame. Isn't this the same thing you talk about other people doing, right? Isn't that the same thing you get so upset about? Again, plays my clip about the cat, and now it's all just manipulation. See, I manipulated you because I claimed he kicked the cat multiple times. Jovan simply said he kicked the S out of the cat. Jovan, do you understand that kicked is plural? Right? You would kick the cat if you had done it once. You kicked the cat is I know reading is hard for you. I truly do. But you don't even listen. And you can, again, sit here today, bad jokes, bad comedy, that if anyone went back to their old MySpace, they would find something they regret. And I'm not going to doubt that. That's probably very true. But the reality is, most people, Jovan, most people would own up to it. Even Chantal puts up community posts and says, listen, I'm going to stop trying to use this word. This was wrong of me. Now, does she hold herself to it? No. But most people try to show they have learned, right? If not grown from those experiences, and say, listen, I'm not going to do that again. I understood the impact it had. I see what it did to other people and how negative it looks. You do none of those things. None of those things. You basically just want to sit here, throw your hands up and say, well, I told poor quality jokes then and I tell poor quality jokes now. The only difference is I can pretend 10 years ago that I was some stand-up comedian that I wasn't. And then you sit there and you say, well, no one talks about the, quote, real crimes that reactors do. Jovan, you were the one doing that because no one else really cares. And the only reason people cared about what you did is because, again, you come on here and act the way that you do. You come on here and act as if you're above all of this. And to that point, you sit there and you said everything's fake, right? I reached out to FFG and I didn't ask about BBJ. Jovan, flat out lie, right? The same thing that you just got upset about, right? The whole kick versus kicked cat concept, right? Same thing. You're now telling me that FFG and I directly communicated and that I am at fault now for not asking about BBJ? That I dropped the ball not getting an update? That I disrespected my audience not asking for this information? FFG will tell you the same thing I will, Jovan. We never directly communicated. She never responded to my email, basically giving her the okay to use the content. She never really responded to me in the chat. And she initially tried to reach out to me with an incorrect email. But again, this is you dreaming up this concept because to you, everyone else is fake. And here's why. You do the same thing that you get so mad about other people for. And now, of course, he claims he's been on this long vacation, so he took all his content down. He's going to deal with everything when he gets back. He's going to get everything organized. Not a word about saying you would disown your daughter. Not a word about taking money from Keemstar. And really, not so much a word about fabricating your channel being removed. Again, this just shows me what I've known my entire life about you. You're a coward. You're a coward. You don't even stand behind your own words because you'd rather sit there today and say, oh, no one else understands that I was a failed comedian 10 years ago, so it gave me the green light to excuse away anything I said that was wrong. Show your name on a marquee, Jovan. Show it. Jovan, there's people in this community that don't care about you claiming you're a comedian. They care about your words, your actions. And when you had a chance today, in a way to kind of win those people back over and say, listen, I saw the response to this. While I know this was a joke in my heart, you clearly don't know what's one in yours. And I'm sorry for anyone that was personally impacted negatively about this. I apologize if this brought up bad emotions. I understand this community has a different reverence for animals than other communities that I've been in, even though I tried to pivot those same emotions against other creators. For example, like when I used BBJ, like when I dressed up as FFG's dogs. I'm going to exclude myself from that and say that going forward, I'm going to learn how my words can impact people, reflect on people, and also reflect on myself. And I'm going to try to hold myself to a higher standard than others because that's what I expect from them when creating my commentary. You did none of those things. What you did is what you've always done. Look at the floor, tuck your tail, and pretend that you are excluded from everything everyone else gets criticized for. And this, Jovan, from me to you, is how life works. When your parents hand you everything, when your parents have to give you a job, and when you've never known true responsibility. Because we've learned with you, just like we did with Chantal, just like I did with Amber Lynn, so much of your issues that you talk about other people is all projection. You can use a green screen to hide it. You can use veneers to hide it. You can use a hat to hide it. But everyone knows. Everyone knows. Love to know your thoughts on this. Appreciate you watching it. You know, when someone doesn't understand words and how they can be plural, I don't believe there's any way that I can be back as soon as I can with more commentary.